1 2 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2.
All right. This is a little blown out, but that's all right. But that my hand's perfectly exposed.
Sounds good. I've got audio.
I'll go like this. All right. Oh, there's a rubber band here that I'm going to take off. Okay, good morning, everybody. In keeping with the tradition and as homage to David Lynch, the weather report. This morning, I had the heater on while I stretched for my run, but I just wore my regular shorts and short sleeve shirt on my run, and I was perfect. And probably going to have to wear sunglasses today. All right, so this is how this works. We do the announcements on Thursdays, and then all of you do your questions in the comment section of the Thursday announcement, and then I answer them first come first serve, and I try to get through all of them, but it's kind of difficult. Okay, so Austin Gridley asks, do you plan on coming to the Southeast U.S. anytime soon for any events? I don't have any plans. I was just talking to Braxton about my absolute disdain for the United States commercial airline industry, and there's emergencies, family stuff, sure, but there's just nothing worth going through that hell and the unreliability of it. There is nothing, or suitcase of money. So emergencies, family, events, suitcase of money is about the only thing worth the airline flight. So sorry, probably not coming to Southeast US, but maybe I'll do a train across. And the train system it's not, you have to I think you have to go to Chicago, and then it's like a thing, like taking your bags off of the train, waiting a day, going to a hotel. It's like the train system doesn't work seamlessly either. So I don't know. And then driving across, it's just too far. I've done it too many times. That is a way long answer. No, I'm not going to the Southeast US. I don't have any plans, but I do love it down there. I went to college in Virginia. Okay, Evan asks, what was your very first week like when you moved to New York? Was there a plan or just wing it? Stressful, exciting? Had you visited there before you moved? Okay, I'd always been to New York with my dad. He would bring us to New York when we were kids. I'd probably been to a Yankees game. I'd probably been to a Mets game as a child. I used to go on auditions for television commercials when I was like 15. I was trying to make money to go to college, but I wasn't like interesting looking enough or good looking enough or a good enough actor to get any of the like TV commercials. So I would go in with my aunt because she worked for a talent agent who was actually Kirsten Dunst's talent agent at the same time, or manager, not agent, manager. And so that lady would send me on these auditions. And so I went when I was about 15, I think, a few times. The first time I went with a family, and then after that, I would take the Amtrak by myself with like the addresses and like kind of figure it out, and then take the Amtrak back to New London, Connecticut at the end of the day. But I had never. So when I moved there, the first week was I stayed with some classmates from William and Mary who were friends with my girlfriend, and they were so nice to us. Oh my God, they were so nice to us in their Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn apartment. I'm really ashamed that I can't remember their names, but they know who they are. And they were theater people. I think the theater scene was a little bit more lively back then. This is like 1998. So it was Carroll Gardens, Brooklyn, and they said, okay, you can stay here for a week until you find an apartment. And so it was that was probably the hardest thing I ever had to, besides like getting into William and Mary, which was difficult, but like trying to get an apartment, like it was during the internet boom, like the first internet boom where it was all the .com stuff was coming out. All the websites were just being invented. So there was tons and tons of money. So the apartments, there was tons and tons of demand for the apartments. So before even someone would show you an apartment in Brooklyn, you had to have proof of income, proof. They wanted you to be a New York resident. You had to have like work experience. Like you had to have a job, a pay stub from a job in New York City to have all of this stuff. But it was pre like sleuthing internet, pre like I can just Google you and find out everything about you internet. It was pre like internet identity. So you could fake a whole bunch of stuff, and then you could get like your parents to co-sign the lease, to be a guarantor on the lease. Because if you didn't have the numbers, and it was like you had to be making $50,000 a year just to see an apartment, not to rent it, to go before they would show it to you, you had to have pay stubs. So I don't want to say what I did. I don't want to say the connections I used and the people that I talked to and the people who did favors for me. And, there was some, I'll just put it this way. There was some shenanigans too. This is before I knew anyone in New York, except for those two people. And they, I can't go into how I was able to like do certain things, but that was the first week, was just learning all that in real time. Because it wasn't like you went online, how do I rent an apartment in New York? And there was all this information about how to do it. There wasn't even like online listings. Landlords weren't posting online in New York. It wasn't at Brooklyn. It wasn't that savvy. So it was just the first week was like figuring out all of those things, and then finally being able to be shown a place. And it was like maybe the 5th place we had seen. And it was just like, okay, we'll take it. And then it was like a panic to like get all the paperwork and get all the money. And I remember there's all these legends of like, I moved to New York with $100 in my pocket in a dream. Well, I moved to New York with $5,000 in my pocket in 1998. That was blood money, double shifts, washing pots and pans in an industrial kitchen, and then working double. Actually, no, I went from there to waiting tables in like 2 restaurants, like just 6 days a week double shifts, or 5 days a week double shifts, and then 1 day a week single shift. That's how I earned my $5,000, making like, I don't know, whatever. So, and it was gone in like 1 week. It was like starting from scratch. Boom. It was all like security deposit. In New York, for an apartment, I don't know if it's still this way, but you have to pay the broker fee, which is 10% of or maybe it's 12% of the first year's rent. So if our place was like $1,300, I think. So whatever, 12 times 13, 10%. So it was about $1,300 extra dollars just for the broker fee. And the broker owned the apartment. So it was like, fuck you. I had to pay them first month's, last month's security deposit and the broker fee, even though they were the broker. They like owned anyway, whatever. It was Brooklyn in 1998. Yeah, that was the first week. It was just like being confronted with reality. Boom, boom. And I was doing it with a girl that I was dating at the time. We lived together, and her father was a lawyer in DC. And the broker was like, oh no, you can't have a lawyer as a cosigner because lawyers get out of stuff. So, and then we were just like, what? And it's like, and they also have to be in the tri-state area. So I'd like go to my dad, and I think he was like the guarantor on the apartment. So that was the first week, learning all of that. And then you got to scramble and figure out, well, how the hell am I going to come up with this? It seemed like so much money, this $650 a month, every month for rent. $10 an hour was like kind of how much money you could make back then, unless you were some kind of specialist, which I was not. So that's the first week. God, question number 2. Okay. So Drew asked me, what's your routine to keep from getting distracted and staying on course for goals, daily to-dos, etc.? I always seem to get distracted from my main focus items. It's getting harder and harder to stay focused. But I think the main thing is like waking up very early, waking up at like between 4 and 5 in the morning, sometimes in between 3 and 4. And then coming in, I have just private time. The whole world is asleep. So that keeps me focused. And then getting, sponsored videos that have to come out on the, X date or whatever, that puts the pressure on. So the combination of the pressure and the routine, that keeps me focused. It also helps me come up with workarounds and stuff when I'm like, I don't have enough time. just kind of figure it out. Paula asks, what exactly will you be doing in your new studio that's different than what you've been doing? I just won't have to set up and break down every little, like this set that I'm sitting at right now with there's like a light right here, there's a light right here, there's a microphone thing. All this stuff has to get put away, all like in the workshop over, and that's in the house. And then this gets bolted up in the rafters and the lights get put away. One goes there and then and it's like that for when I'm shooting overhead. It's like that when I'm shooting spot. All that stuff's going to be able to just stay set up because the studio that I'm renting in the Valley is 6 times the size. 6 of these studios fits in that studio. So, but it's not going to look much different. It's not going to be much different. I'm figuring out it's so echoey in there. It's like it's got to be echoier than the Grand Canyon. So I'm just trying to figure out. It might just be a little room with that soundproofing stuff on there on the walls, and I'll do voiceovers from there, and I'll build a little like this kind of set in there. But I don't, or maybe you guys will just have to suffer through an echo, or maybe I'll build a little like a little box that goes around me. And I'm just like zoink, a little view of like Hawaii behind or something. I don't know, but it's not gonna. I don't. It's just more of the same. I'll do some videos about like building a battle station. But I don't. And I'll also be able to work with people because like 2 people kind of don't fit in this box that I'm in right now. So there'll be more people involved, more peer discussions and so forth. Steven asked, could you break down how you create your script and shot list for us? Oh, that's a good question. So I have these like pieces of cardstock that I carry around in my back pocket that are folded up, and then on them I have notes. On them I have notes of things that like occur to me, like ideas for episodes that occur to me, or I have, if you see, hold on, in here, this is called episodes. And if I just out of the blue, I'm in the studio, I'm just like, oh, I know I should do an episode about, I don't know, shoelaces. Then I write them down on a Post-it note and put them on a piece of paper right there. And then that paper becomes kind of the first page of notes when it's time to make that episode. And but usually the idea has been percolating for a while, so I'll pull that down. I'll decide, okay, next week we're doing about blah 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 wheelies, and then that's actually a bad example because I'm like writing that as I'm learning the experience, as I'm going through the experience of learning how to wheelie. But usually, and so then I just write the notes out of like what, and the notes, the first draft of notes is like, what are my thoughts? Just like, what am I thinking? And then I sort of find some thread that'll work. And then I will write the voiceover, like what am I talking about? And I'll triple space the voiceover. And then I'll just, once it's written, show this. And I write that down in pencil in between. And so the shots, and I number each shot, the shots are written underneath the lines of the voiceover. And then I just shoot all those shots. And sorry, I'm distracted by the power and the beeping. And then I just write down the shots and then go shoot them on, like, I try to get that done by a Wednesday or Thursday and then edit like in a sprint. Can you go outside and just flip there's on the touch screen, yep, it'll say out DC output, yep, and just flip it to on. That should probably work. Which isn't an emergency. It's just it's just a bug in the system I have. Okay, next question. What are your favorite things about the United States? Oh, this is a great question. What are my favorite things about the America, land that I love? I love the way I love the like we have kind of there's something for everybody, you know, that we have forests, we have um it didn't do anything. Well, just do it until you see this light come on. You might have to unplug and read, you know, whatever. Okay. Um I'm so spoiled because I was born and raised here, and I was like had like awesome coming up time, and in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, it's not what it was now. So now when I think about like what I like about America now, I'm just thinking I'm so critical of like there's so much that we've lost that like if you're younger than 40, I'd say you just don't really realize um you don't realize what's missing. And it it might just be that I'm old. Now there it goes. It might just it might just be that I'm old. Um and I was just saying this the other day to somebody, but America used to be insanely fun. Like fun was what excused everything. And like one example that I give is like and it was this is like pre September 11th. I'll tell you what I love about America soon. I'm just this is for. But I was on a flight to Las Vegas with my brother, and I think it was 2000, year 2000, and we were we were super drunk, and as the plane was coming in on the approach, he and I were standing, or maybe it was just me. We're standing on the armrests of the airplane, surfing the airplane onto the fucking tarmac. And like half the plane was pissed off, but they didn't say anything. And then half the plane was like cheering us on. That's what the whole country was kind of like that until September 11th. And I love that about America. And that exists in pockets now. That exists in like your communities and stuff now. I love the size of it. You know, we have more navigable rivers than the rest of the world, like combined. We have more navigable, meaning a boat that draws 12 feet of water and is like whatever 25 feet wide can go down it. Like other countries don't have rivers. Like they have maybe one or whatever. We have tons of these major rivers. We have deciduous forests. We have chaparral forests. We have deserts. We have California, which has so many natural wonders. It has Half Dome at Yosemite. We have all the ingenuity of the Northeast, all that Edison stuff. We have all the cool inventions of the 20th, not all, but a lot of the great cool inventions of the 20th century. We have all these pockets of communities. It's like just about any major city, there's just pockets of like Armenians, Persians, Orthodox Jews, what are they? What Mormons? We have. I mean, I think that's the way to do America, like right. Like that's what America is like. If you're entrepreneurial and you have one of these little like kind of religious-based communities, like the Mormons or the Amish or the Jews or I don't know, pick anything, any of these religions that came here for religious freedom, and that still goes on. Can you turn that off? That's the dehumidifier. Lots of beeping today. I'm sorry. This just goes to show you all the improvised gadgetry that keeps this studio going. The beeping was the battery backup for the computer system before. Now that's the dehumidifier is full, and with the new studio, you won't have any of that. I live in you can just pick like Los Angeles. There's no city in the world that has as good of cars as Los Angeles. I'm sorry, Dubai doesn't. Dubai doesn't have the old shitty American shit. You know, you see all these Ferraris and Lamborghinis in Dubai, and you know, Monaco doesn't. They just have the European stuff. They don't have the Ford GTs. Like, this place is this, and that's just one city in America. You don't need a passport to go from state to state. If you don't like the rules in one state, you can just go to another. Like, I want to have all the guns I want, blah, blah, just move to Texas. I want to have tigers on my property. Just move to Texas. You know, I want like train service. Okay, move to the Northeast Corridor. You know, we have New York. We have, and then there's all this mystery America. There's like Guam. What is that like? There's like, isn't there like the Marshall Islands? That we have the Caribbean. We have like Caribbean Virgin Islands. We have Puerto Rico. Like, they'll send the Blackhawks after you. Something bad happens to you. You're in some place and you're an American citizen. They will send the Blackhawks after you. They will send the Blackhawk helicopters, and they will send some troops, and they'll get you. You know, they'll get you out of there. Yeah, I don't know. It's awesome. It's so great. And, you know, it's built for people like me. It's built for ambitious people who are like, you know, want to make their own little world. Okay, that's what I love about America, or the United States. So Squeeter McGeeter, hi Van, thanks for the awesome inspiration. I imagine you've had a chance to meet a lot of your heroes and other influential people. What are some of your favorite questions to ask artists, craftsmen, and other compelling people you've met? Oh man, it just depends. I don't know. It just depends on the person, I guess. What was like, I don't know, meeting Werner Herzog. I can't remember what I asked him. I don't remember. I think I asked him what he thought of Los Angeles, and he was like, Los Angeles is the most vital city in America and maybe the world. I was like, yes. I don't know. I just ask, I just more have conversations with these people, and just, we kind of try to, you know, you try to find the things that you like about each other's work or whatever, and then you find it in, and you just blah, 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 blah. I don't really remember. Valentino asked, have you ever traveled to Argentina? I think you would love Buenos Aires. It would be cool. Oh, I would love to go to Argentina. I've looked at Argentina as like a bug out plan, for like, if it just got like insanely expensive here, just to go to Argentina and find some beautiful place in like Buenos Aires or whatever. And then like, maybe I'll go down. We talk about going down there in the summer for skiing. So that'll probably happen. I love the Americas. I like to travel through the Americas, I think, a lot. So maybe we will. If I can take an Argentine airline down there, don't have to deal with one of these crap American airline industry. You can't say, because when you say, oh, I hate flying on American Airlines, that's the name brand of one of the stupid airlines. But what I mean is like United States of America's airline companies, US Air, Delta, whatever, they're all the same. They're all garbage. But anyway, I'd love to go to Argentina. I see pictures of it, and it just looks so cool, and it's like right up my alley. Daniel asks, individually or all together, what will you and Casey and Tom Sachs non-negotiably expect from assistants? What will you not tolerate from assistants, and what do assistants do that you deeply appreciate? So if you've ever seen the 10 bullets, do I have 10 bullets up here? I have it somewhere, but if you ever seen the video 10 Bullets, which was written by John Ferguson and Tom Sachs, but directed by me, the video, that's just bottom line, 100% non-negotiable. All of those things: be on time, be thorough, be persistent, all of that stuff. Sent does not mean received. All of those bullets, non-negotiable. That's like starting, like, you're not even learning them when you get here. You have to come here with those. And then I made a video about like, it might have been rules of the studio, workshop rules, like no tripwires. Like, never ever can you have, and we ran into this problem yesterday at the new studio. Never, ever can you have a wire plugged in for any reason whatsoever, including life or death. Can you have a mid-calf wire or power cord or phone cord or whatever plugged into the wall that if you're not looking down at the ground, you will trip over? Ever. Never that's allowed to happen. Never. So much so that yesterday I was like, I hadn't packed a extension cord at the new studio. So I was like moving a lamp around as I'm putting shelves in because I'm unplugging and plugging in so that Braxton can shoot me. Just nightmare. So that's when the just psychotic things like this. Casey and Tom. I mean, it's like, I don't know about those guys. They're probably less psychotic than I am. But yeah, 10 bullets, I think, is surmises. But then there's like the, never outshine the master, never upstage your boss. Also, like there's this sort of a thing like everybody who's going to work at one of these places has their own body of work that they're doing. Like they're trying to become a professional creator with their own like kingdom. And like, it's very frowned upon to like, it's not very frowned. It's like basically forbidden. You don't bring on company time. You don't bring up your work. You don't talk about like, unless it's like totally relevant to the project at hand. Like, well, I use these lights when I lit blah, 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 because blah, 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 blah. So I think maybe we should consider blah, 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 blah. But what else? The obvious. I mean, the thing with these extreme competitive, like, I get a lot of people, hey, I'd love to come work for you for free, blah, blah, blah. I get a lot of that. And imagine the number Casey and Tom get. And the thing is, like, all that punctuality, on time, all that stuff, that is taken for granted by us. Like all those easy things to execute on perfectly, you have to do. I mean, that is just non-negotiable because it's so competitive. We can get anyone. Well, there's 50 people that we can just replace you with for free, and we're going to pay you. But yeah, you have to be just your absolute best. It's super hard. It's not a good deal. It's not a good deal for the assistant at all. Because you should be pouring that excellence and energy into your thing. But I don't know. I did it, and it's like it's probably the best education. So there you have it. Okay, Argentina. What do you find enjoyable about home ownership? I technically don't own a home. I just pay the mortgage. So I guess, well, maybe, no, I don't think I own a home. So I don't know. I can't answer that question. Brantley asks, can you or will you release the Nice Step Brothers show here on Patreon? I'm pretty sure it's on you. Isn't it on YouTube?
Yeah, there's bootlegs.
There's like bootleg. Just search it on YouTube and you'll find it. I guess we could. I could release like an HD version of it or something, but I'm too lazy. That's like 4 hours of footage or 4 hours of content to upload, and then music licensing and stuff. It wouldn't be what's it called? Where you get the money monetized, but it's out there. You can find it. Oh, but maybe I will put it up on YouTube. I mean, maybe I will put it up on Patreon. That's kind of a great idea. But then the European people can't watch it because of Europe has some weird copyright things where it gets just taken. They don't even have access to it. At least in America, they just give the money to, if you use copyrighted music, they just give the money to the owner of the copyright. But maybe that'll change in the future. Curious to know about Matthew asks, I'm curious to know about your philosophy on developing your own artistic style. Much love and thank you for all that you do. I just think it's unconscious because so you have taste, you have the things that you like. And that's kind of hard to even know what that is. And then you have the things that you're trying to do like certain people did them. And if you don't, and so, but you're like I heard I heard Rick Rubin talking about how the Beatles were just trying to make like American rock and roll blues music from the South. You know, that's what they were trying to make with their stuff, but it sounded nothing like their stuff. You know, it was just this because they didn't do it exactly. They weren't replicating it. They were. It's very hard to explain. It's very hard to explain how this happens. That like, you know, I don't know. I'm just trying to make like Eames films, like the Charles and Ray Eames films. Like I'm just trying to make those, or I'm trying to make like certain sequences from Wes Anderson movies or Kubrick movies, or There Will Be Blood or No Country for Old Men or something. Like I'm trying to do that, but it like the only thing I can get, the only thing I can approximate sometimes is just like no music, like No Country for Old Men. There's no, it's all diegetic sound. It's all sound recorded like live or Foley sound, whatever. There's no like music track in that movie. I'm pretty sure, I'm almost positive. And like, I'll do that sometimes for like 40 seconds. It's just like, no, there's going to be no music in this. Or like, you know, Wes Anderson, he never, the way he crops things, everything's always included. There's nothing like, if there's a book in the shot, he doesn't, you know, cut the frame so that a little bit of the book is cut out of the shot. It's like the whole book. Kubrick does that too. I think Wes Anderson's more strict about it. You know, stuff on tripods. So the style is based, I mean, Steve Martin said, your workarounds is how you develop your style. It's like, I want to make this, but I only have this. Like, what's a good example of that? Like, shooting on all the formats that I shoot on. Like a lot of times, like I don't have the right lenses and stuff to get the composition I want. So I have to use like a GoPro, and then that has a GoPro look to it. Or I have to use an old like SD870 from 2008. And that has like a certain look to it. And that's a style, but I was using that because that's the camera that fit in my pocket and I could bring it through to the airport and blah, 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 blah. They're just workarounds to like achieve something I'm trying to get. But a lot of that came in the very early days, and watching those Eames, the films of Charles and Ray Eames that they used to make for big companies like IBM would hire them. Make a movie that explains this is in like 1968 or 1970. Make a movie that explains what a computer is. And they're like, okay. And then they just like, Jesus, they've made this thing. I think it's called the Thinking Machine or it's something like that. Oh my God, it's so good. But yeah, I like what Steve Martin says. It's just your workarounds, you know. You don't have the thing, so you just do it's like you just achieve what you're trying to achieve with the thing that you do have. But it shouldn't be too I think these things you have to kind of discover. This artistic style. You can't set out, I'm going to be a meta modern filmmaker that works with neo-realism and blah blah blah, and I'm going to use the codes of so and so. And no, you got to just go do the work. And there's so many obstacles that you have to work your way around, and by improvising your way around those obstacles, you'll invent some style if you're lucky, I guess. Tanner asked, how's the fame experience been for you behind the scenes? You've got as many subscribers as there are residents of Detroit. Wow, that's cool. Have you had to deal with anything bizarre or unsettling? It just feels like, when you're in high school and some people know you and some people don't know you. It's kind of like that. It's very nice. It's nice when I'm out with people who don't know me that well. This is ego. This is just ego stuff. If I'm with someone who I don't know that well, or I've just met, and then someone else on the street is like, hey man, I really love your thing. It's fucking very nice when that happens. It's very cool. Or like a family member of somebody. I'm like, oh, big fan. Or like I'm having trouble with customer service somewhere, and then someone comes up to me and it's like, hey, big fan of your channel. That's great. I have a very, very convenient level of fame. But yeah, it's very nice because it's more, with the internet stuff, it's more intimate than like that weird Hollywood celebrity hyper fame stuff. Because like people who are drawn, like my audience is a lot like me, so they're like discreet, like the way I would be, just like encouraging and respectful. So that's kind of nice. That's it's really nice, super cool. Bizarre and unsettling? Not really. It's all just been kind of fun. Corbin asks, all right, I watched an interview with you talking about the tolerance of uncertainty. I feel that brilliantly summarizes what it takes to make a living pursuing creativity as a profession. Can you expand on that thought? Yeah, that's why everyone who quits. That's why I would say 100% of the people who quit and be like, well, I was doing it, but I went and did this is because of I'd say 100% is because of the uncertainty. It's the thing. It's the difference between the people who are successful and make a living at doing it and the people who have to like cut and run and find another thing, is that the people who like are successful at it, they're willing to just live in that uncertainty for a long, intolerable amount of time that feels like it's destroying your life. And it's not just the uncertainty though, because it's uncertainty is like basically job security, right? Or you're pursuing this thing that's hyper competitive. There are 30 million YouTube channels. Okay. And I think it's like less than it might be like 1/10 of 1% of people with a YouTube channel earn enough money to like live off of it. It's very, very, very competitive. If you should only do it if you're independently wealthy. If you have another, you should only do it as like a career. And it sounds ironic, but if you have like your own money to do it, it's just, there's this guy named Scott Galloway who talks about this. And he's just like, if you're not getting green light after green light for the first few years, meaning like significant encouragement, like right out of the gates, maybe like after you've been doing the thing for a year, like if you don't have people, or you just have to know what your green light is. Joey Diaz, the comedian, like one of Rogan's good buddies, and Rogan like took him on the road before he was big and everything. He said every 30 days you should be getting something that's keeping you in the game, some kind of external something that's keeping you in the game. And that's absolutely true for me, true for Casey, true for Josh Safdie, true for Ben Safdie, true for Ariel Schulman and Henry Juice, true for Yaniv Schulman, true for everybody, true for all these people that are in my little circle. These people didn't struggle for 5 years and nothing, and then no. And I know those people. I know lots and lots and lots and lots and hundreds of those people too. But the ones who like grounded out, and like Greta Gerwig, because she was in our gang, she was part of our little gang too. Lena Dunham, these people out the, college, couple years out the gates, bang, made a gigantic success. And like, yeah, so I don't know. I think I kind of I was foolish. I wasn't open enough. I think I'm old. It took kind of too long. I'm very grateful. It was fucking awesome. I have the best job in the world, but yeah, you have to be able to live with that uncertainty, man. Or that's the whole game, is the uncertainty. But you're gonna, if it's gonna work out for you, you're gonna get encouragement. You're gonna get it. There's going to be hard times. Things are going to fall apart. Things are going to fall through. But the encouragement. Like that talk with Scott Gimble was like, I was really glad to hear. It was like, nope. From the time I was 10 years old, I knew I wanted to be doing comic books or something comic book adjacent. And then he's just zink, zoof. And then like out of college, I got this. Right out of the USC, I got into the USC program. This, I got it, you know, bang, 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 bang. And like, that's a big part of it. But yeah, you have to have an extreme tolerance for uncertainty because you never know. Okay. Also, as a fellow Gen Xer, I think it would be fun to explain the painful process of logging and capturing mini DV tapes via FireWire and the anxiety it induced if your tape was damaged in any form. I was explaining that process to my son and he was blown away. I certainly don't miss those days. FireWire was like the first, it was like, it wasn't USB, but it was like a high data rate USB. The cords cost like $30 in the year 2000. And you plugged your camera into your iMac, and then your iMac controlled the camera. So you'd click import, you turn the camera on, you put your camera on, I don't have it here. You put the camera on VCR mode, and then you click import, and then your camera would be like, and it would play into the computer. This was like this was miraculous. Into the computer, and the computer would suck the data off of the tapes in real time into iMovie. And then you'd click stop, and then you'd click save, and then you'd have that little clip. And yeah, the fucking ports would break. The cords wouldn't be right. It would be like, oh, you have a FireWire 1070, but you need a FireWire 831. And then Sony changes this and Apple changes that. And it was just a nightmare. And I have all these tapes. I send them out. It's $30 a tape, I think, to get them transferred. That's how much of a pain in the ass it is. I send it out now. The old tapes that I don't have in QuickTime, I send them to like a professional place, and they transfer it for me, and I'm happy to pay to get it all just on a hard drive. But yeah, the tapes, they're starting to deteriorate. The stuff I shot on the Canon XL1, it's like beep, 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 beep. And you see just pixels, like they like blur together. It's weird the way they deteriorate, but it's in some of my like raw footage. Kind of exciting. I think it's just the deteriorate that's called, it's called aluminum dioxide, I think, is the material on the tapes. And it's just starting, even though it's all sealed and it's sealed in a box, sealed in saran wrap, still the trace oxygen is getting in there and breaking it down. So I don't know. So that was the, 2000s, early 2000s. From Entropy, or 3 Entropy. Hello, Van. I'm a 20-year-old aspiring engineer. I have 3 questions. 1, have you ever thought of owning a 3D printer? 2, regarding your GoPro cooler, you could use Noctua fans. They're very quiet, move a lot of air. Ooh, can you write that down? Noctua fans? Thank you. That's a cool tip. I'm not rebuilding that thing. It's done. I don't even care how loud it is. Are you ever coming back to Austin? Yeah, I'll be in Austin in October or November for IMI Fest. So those are the 3 questions. No, 3D printer. I don't care. I don't care. I think they're dumb. I don't think they make cool things. I hate that shitty plastic they use. And whatever I would want, no matter what I would want, a 3D printer, there would be so much improvising with a 3D printer. You might as well just carve it with a Swiss Army knife and a piece of wood, because the thing that I would want to 3D print would be like, well, you could do that, but first you'd have, and plus you are adding a computer to a process that the reason it's fun is because it doesn't require a computer. Like making stuff in the you should also know that people who are like Gen Xers like me and older, almost all of them, unless they're like tech billionaires, fucking hate computers. I hate these things. I despise them. But There's no other way to make money. There's no other way to make a good living with my skill set than by using computers. And that's one of the things I hate about them. So I don't want to add a computer to something that I love to do. Like what, well, why don't you get a snowboarding app so you know where to go on the trip? Fuck you. Or like, how about, why not get a Tesla? Because it's a car and a computer. Fuck you. The reason I like cars is because they're not computers. So that's why I'm not into 3D. It's just an age, it's like an old guy thing, and it'll happen to you one day. And it might be happening to you now. It might be like AI. You might find AI lame and like unconvincing or whatever. And it'll be some technology. For the millennials, a lot of it was like YouTube. I mean, not YouTube, but like it might be like TikTok. Might be like I don't like TikTok. It's stupid. But these technologies come and you're just like, you're old. When you had your fun times, when you were free and partying and blah, 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 and like forming what you loved, forming the relationship that you loved with the world, there were certain things that weren't a part of it. And for me, computers, I didn't own my first computer. I bought when I was 25 years old. I sent my first email when I was 22 years old. So, and they were garbage before that, and I still had to use them because I was bad at spelling. I had shitty handwriting, and when you wanted to use word processor and spell check and all that stuff, blah 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 blah. So that's why that's my long explanation why I'm just not interested in 3D printers. I mean, I'll tell you what I would love if I owned a 3D printer and the 3D printer was connected to Amazon, and I could just like some stupid clip that I need for my motorcycle, some washer or something, and I could just buy it from Amazon and just and it like cut it out or something for my Land Cruiser, just like some gasket that goes on the side view mirror where you bolt it to the car, and it just would like and it cut it out, and there was just like a paper trays full of all the different materials that my car and stuff was made out of, and it could just do that. That's never gonna happen. That's not gonna happen in your house. But I don't want to do any CAD. I don't want to do anything I can do with a jigsaw. I don't want to do with a fucking computer. Ugh. Anyway, I mean, I love you guys. I love that they connect me to you guys, but I'd much rather see you, at the repair station than this. All right, sorry, that's enough about computers. My life would be shit without them, truth be told. Patrick, have you ever shared your approach and philosophy on filmmaking? If not, I would love to hear what goes through your mind when you plan and film a video. How do you make a video? How do you structure it? What rules do you follow to make a good video? What errors do you try to avoid? Yeah, somebody else said that to me. I mean, that's a good idea. Just like the process. And I've thought about doing this, but like it gets too meta because like then you're just watching about there's a great movie called 6 Days to Air, great like TV special called 6 Days to Air. And it's about the cycle of South Park, of how it's made. Like they even show the parking spaces of where the guys park in the little shitty, ugly office park where I was heartbroken at how disgusting the little office park. Like, really, you make arguably America's best piece of culture is made in that disgusting building, which is also beautiful. But yeah, they do a really good thing, but it's not Trey and Matt making their video, making a South Park episode about making South Park. It's some other crew. I guess that's the thing. Someone else would have to make it. It's some other crew making, a TV show about Matt Parker and Trey Parker, Matt and Trey, about how they do in 6 days from scratch. They make that show. It's so cool. But for me to make it about me, it's like, well, but what are you watching? You're just watching the thing that I'm making. And then, I mean, I guess I could do it. But it's kind of, I got to finish building the desks and stuff in the new studio. But it is a good idea, and I will do it one day, very likely. But thank you. What's one key insight you get? Okay. Khalil says, while mingling with some New York's elite, what's one key insight you gained that fundamentally changed your approach to either art or its commercial success? This could relate to how you conduct meetings, discuss projects, or even the types of ventures you now consider likely to succeed. If your approach didn't change, perhaps share something you observed about how these spaces that treat art and projects that differ from other spaces. I don't know what that last bit means, but while mingling, what's one key insight that you gained that fundamentally changed your approach to either art or its commercial success? Well, I think you have to. I think we're gonna. There's. So you have if you're an. We'll use the word artist, which is the most annoying. One of the most annoying words in the English language. We'll use the word artist, and so if you're an artist, if you make something out of nothing and sell it. No, if you're like I don't even know. You know what I'm talking about. Let's say you're a gallery artist. You're Jeff Koons or something. Your job, you have two jobs. You have one job is to make the thing, and then you have the other job is to bring the thing out into the world. Tom Sachs taught me that. That's your two jobs. And they're pretty well insulated, and they don't really inform each other. Like if you're really great at bringing your thing out into the world, it doesn't mean you're really great at making your thing. You know what I mean? Like you can be really great at bringing the thing out into the world, and the thing could be garbage. That's why there's a lot of garbage, because the people who bring the things out into the world are really good at it. And then you want to think, no, I just make these masterful works of genius, and my fill in the blank for professional, my agent, my manager, whatever, she brings that out. No. Because the agent works for you, and you have to manage that agent. What projects you're going to choose, and you also have to get big enough to get that agent. And what the agent does is the agent negotiates the deals that you get. They don't go out and get deals for you unless you're stratospheric. I mean, you're not asking me this question. If you're that level where the agents are going out and getting you deals, then you're not asking me this question. But so that's a fundamental thing. Like half of your job is doing the work. The other half is bringing the work to the world. And then Tom Sachs, when he was asked this question, what was the best thing? Because Tom Sachs was Frank Gehry. So Tom Sachs worked in Frank Gehry's studio when Frank Gehry was making furniture, making like laminated plywood furniture and stuff, before he made the Disney Center and before he made, the skyscrapers in New York. And somebody in an interview asked Tom Sachs, what was the best thing you learned or the most important thing that Frank Gehry taught you? And Tom said that it's cool to swear in front of rich people. You have to really stay grounded in who you are. You can't, and no matter who the people are, they're not superior to you. They're not somebody's going to make your dreams come true. They're just another person out there in the world. And like, you can't be arrogant. You can't hold that against them. You're like, you will deal with billionaires. You will meet billionaires. You will have to go through you'll have to go through the billionaire protocol of like hanging out at these people's houses and stuff, which is a fucking pain in the ass. Like every single thing in their house is worth more than everything you own. Their silverware is $1,000 per thing. And like everything's immaculate. If you have the wrong shoes and you scuff a floor, the floor is $150,000 a square foot because it was hand laid by like Pablo Picasso. It's like shit like that. It's like a fucking pain. I remember like going into rich people's houses and having to like install art pieces and stuff for Saks and being like, my clothes just aren't clean enough. Like not fucking metaphorically, like literally, if I brush up against that cashmere couch with these pants on, I'm going to cause $50,000 worth of damage. And it's like that on every level. I was putting on oh my gosh, this is the worst story. I was staying at a house in Salzburg. I was with Saks. I was an assistant with Saks. I was staying at this house that belonged to his art dealer, and this is the house from The Sound of Music. It's called Elmsleep. Okay, the house that she walks by in the beginning with the yellow fence and stuff. That's where I was staying. And my room, my little apartment, you walked into this giant mansion and there was a coat closet to the right of the giant mansion. In the back of the coat closet was a door. You opened that door and it led through Narnia style to my apartment where I was staying. In my apartment, I might have Tom's little apartment, which was a different one, and my apartment mixed up. But in one of our apartments, there were 11 original Andy Warhols. That's the guest apartment of this guy's house, okay? And whatever, this is like the fanciest week of my life. And so it was like, there was some big art show. There were all these artists flown in, blah, blah, blah. We're in Salzburg. It's the end of the week. And it's just me, Tom, the owner of the house, and maybe a couple other people. And we're like having lunch or something. And I had like a Paul Smith velvet suit jacket that I was wearing around with all my motorcycle clothes, because we were doing like this big motorcycle trip, and it was hanging on the back of the chair. And I stood up at the table and I put as you do, I put my arm into the sleeve of the jacket, and then I like swung the jacket around to put my other arm in. It hit the jacket, like hit, I think it was like a candlestick holder made out of that fell and just shattered. And I saw the owner of the house and this is one of the most, if not the most gracious human I've ever met. He just like squeeze his eyes and be like, oh. And talking to Tom later, it was probably some Venetian thing that belonged to Mozart. It was probably some $250,000 fucking candlestick holder that belonged to Mozart. And I'm something I work on, but I am a little bit careless and clumsy at times. And I just knocked it over and broke it. And Tom picked up. He's like, we can fix this. We can do hot glue. We'll make a piece out of it. It'll be fantastic. And the guy was just like, it's okay. Don't worry about it. So anyway, that's another thing I learned. Be very, very, very careful and clean when you are, among these rich people, these elite. Okay, Elliot asks, I'm not going to be able to get through that many. Sorry, guys. So verbose today. Elliot asks, I'm visiting New York City for the first time next weekend, taking my mother to see some Broadway shows and explore. We have lots of free time in our itinerary. Do you have some favorite spots? Just think it would be fun to get suggestions from a tried and true New Yorker. Okay, so if you're a patron of my channel, you are probably a little bit like me, and I'm going to tell you this right now, and you should know this, that all that tourist stuff in New York fucking is garbage, and it's just like all the tourist stuff in every other city, and it's not the real New York. It's like New York's impersonation of itself, and that basically all of the fun and cool stuff is going to be happening south of 23rd Street and all the way down to like maybe Chambers Street. But it's pretty interesting down past there, but it just turns into like weird Wall Street buildings, and it's weird down there. So what I always suggest, I've answered, I have it right here. Okay, please allow me 30 seconds to find this document, and I will tell you if I can find it. Can you start the timer 30 seconds
Uh,
when I say go? And if I can find this document, I've like copied it because I've sent it to other patrons before. They're like, I'm going to New York. And I say, do this. Okay. And you'll have it recorded so you can go back and write it down, which is a pain in the ass. But okay, so I'm going to look it up right here. Okay, so Patreon, boom, double clicking, Patreon, Patreon advice. Oh, nope. Nope. I'm trying to find. Somebody asked me.
30 seconds.
That's 30 seconds. Okay, I didn't find it. Okay, so basically, what you want to do is this. If you're in New York, you want to. The things to do in New York. First of all, you have to carry everything with you, and when you're in New York. It's not like other places where you park your car and you move your car and you have all the stuff you're going to need with you. And the cool thing to do is to walk through the cool neighborhoods in New York. Now, the thing that can happen if you do that wrong is you just walk down 6th Avenue, 8th Avenue, Broadway. You walk down one of these main thoroughfares that go north and south, right? And you miss the point. It's just traffic and busyness. You don't get the character, the beautiful little shops and the little like apartments and the, celebrity sightings and stuff. So what you want to do is you want to start at like the High Line, which is on the west side, and start at the northern part of the High Line, which might be in the 30s. Okay. And walk the High Line until you get to the end of it, which is like 13th Street. Okay. Then you go down and you're on the far west side of Manhattan. Okay. So what your goal is from there is you are walking from the far west side of Manhattan. Okay. You are walking to the Brooklyn Bridge, which is the far east side of Manhattan. Okay. You're not taking subways. You're not taking cabs. You're not taking whatever. You're walking, and Manhattan's friggin' tiny. So this is hours to do this. So you want to take a road a street that goes south and meanders east. I like Bleecker Street. Now, I can't exactly remember where Bleecker Street connects with this journey that you're going to be going on, but I think if you walk down like Greenwich, Bleecker, you might see Bleecker. But just start walking south and east until you crash into Bleecker Street. And then I would walk that, and then you get to, I think it T-bones into like Washington Square Park, so you can check out Washington Square Park and all that. And then keep heading south on those little streets, plenty of cool restaurants. I mean, I haven't been to New York in a long time, over a year. And then, Tribeca is amazing. Nolita is great. Soho is great. You're going to be walking through all those little neighborhoods. I think Bleecker ends like right above Houston Street. So when you get to Houston Street, go like 1 block east. I can't remember exactly how to do it. I had it all written out once, but walk to the Brooklyn Bridge essentially, and just make sure you're heading east and south. You don't need to use your damn phone. You don't need navigation in New York City, really, unless you have an exact spot you're trying to go to. And just walk south and east until you get to the Brooklyn Bridge, then walk across the Brooklyn Bridge. And then there's which is, I don't know, a mile or two. And it's like a wooden nice thing to walk on. And don't walk in the bike lane. Be very conscious of bicycles in the bike lane. Don't be an idiot. You can get somebody really, really hurt because you're trying to take a photo, a selfie. So respect with all of your honor the bike lane as much as possible. They are going to come out of nowhere. You will never see them coming, even though it's a straight shot. Stay out of the bike lane. or ride a bike across, which is so cool. If you rent bikes and ride across the Brooklyn Bridge, that's cool. So there's an exit that like you go down steps and then you're in downtown Brooklyn. And I would make my way to Montague Street. And then, do you know the name of Rel and Henry's restaurant on Montague Street? God damn it. Sorry, you're going to have to look this up. But my friend Ariel Schulman and Henry Juice, they're like Hollywood filmmakers, but we all came up together. And some of our other buddies, Sam Lysenko, who's he did the production design for 8th Grade, if you've ever seen that movie, for tons of things. But that's like the one that I love. That's one of the ones that I love the most. But Sam Lysenko is like a baller production designer. He designs everything that you see in the film. He's incredible. He designed the restaurant. I haven't been there, but that's what you're going to do. You're going to start at the High Line. You're going to walk down to the Brooklyn Bridge, and then you're going to exit down the steps at the end of the Brooklyn Bridge, and then use Montague Diner. Then you're going to use your navigation and find the Montague Diner. It's on Montague Street. You're going to have food at the you lucky bastard. You're going to have food at the Montague Diner. And then you're going to walk to the Brooklyn Promenade, which is the overhang. It overhangs over the BQE, over the highway there, and overlooks where the World Trade Center used to be. You overlook a Manhattan. And then you can go home however way you want. Take the subway home, or back to your hotel, sorry. Take the subway back, take a cab back, which will cost you $50 or $60. Maybe find a place where you can rent like electric bikes and try to ride some bike paths and stuff. But that's what you want to do. You want to walk, and you want to walk in Lower Manhattan. You want to start on the west side at the High Line is incredible. The High Line is it's the greatest thing that happened while I was there. It was like the greatest, like, architectural and landscape architectural phenomenon that happened while I was there. It's just a miracle. It's so great. And so you just start at like up in Hudson Yards, maybe. I don't know, because it wasn't finished when I was living there. Start up wherever, however long you can handle the walk to the Brooklyn Bridge. But you're not using your navigation. You're not using your maybe you use your navigation to reorient you back into southbound streets. Right? But don't use your navigation to get you, because it'll just take you the most direct route. It'll be boring. And Manhattan is like one of the reasons why I left Manhattan is because it's fucking boring. It's all it's just like every other strip mall in America. It's like Petco's, ATMs, Chase Banks, Dwayne Reed, which is their like drugstore. That's like the Manhattan Walmart. But if you take these little side streets, West 10th Street, Bleecker, there's all these little like nooks and crannies, like Magnolia Bakery. Go to the Magnolia Bakery. That's on Bleecker and West 11th, I think. On your way, that's one of your little snacks. Get 1 cupcake or 3 cookies. There might be a huge line if it's a weekend, but that's what you want to do. So you're gonna start at the High Line, and you're gonna walk south and east. And you're going to walk to the Brooklyn Bridge, and you're going to walk across the Brooklyn. This is all day. It's going to take you all day. But you're going to walk across the Brooklyn Bridge. Don't wear fashion shoes. Wear comfort shoes. Hiking boots is the best thing you could wear on this walk. Yeah, man, I wish I could do that right now. When are you going to be there? Next weekend? Oh, September. Ooh, fall in New York. There's no place like it. That's the best. That's where you want to be on planet Earth during the fall. You want to be in New York City. That's right. Okay. Yeah. So that's what you do. Taking my mother to see some. I hope your mother's probably young. You guys are young. All right. Richard asks, would you consider bringing the free repair station to NYC or anywhere on the East Coast sometime? I've got an old heirloom belt buckle that needs fixing. Oy boy. Oh gosh, New York, everything's super, super hard. You know what I would do? Alex Kalman's gonna hear this, and then he's gonna make me do it. I would do it in the tiny museum, in the museum on Cortlandt Alley that Alex Kalman, Josh Safdie, and Kate and Andy Spade founded. That I'm almost positive is still there. I would do the repair station in there if it would fit. but I would have to be treated like a fucking king to do it. I'd have to stay in Tribeca at the Tribeca Grand, which is called the Roxy now. And I would want like an assistant to like put the thing back and close the gate and lock it. And I would only do it for a couple hours a day. And but man, that's kind of a great idea. That would be kind of great. I did the golden word there where I engraved, you had to book it ahead of time, but I engraved Swiss champs for people. That was fun. It was like my first week of sobriety or something. It was like maybe my first month of sobriety. My hands were fucking shaking as I was engraving it and everything. It was really heavy, but it was a cool project and I got to meet really neat people. Oh, that was surreal. What's okay, I'll go for 5 more minutes. What is your philosophy on hand tools versus power tools? Is there a time when one should be used over the other? My philosophy is that if you can do it with a power tool, do it with a power tool. But that means you have the power tool with you, you have the electricity or the battery or whatever. The power tool fits in the place where you need it to fit. And just do power tool. I don't see any advantage or like, well, it's better if you do this by hand, unless it's better if you do it by hand. Sometimes if you use a power tool, like yesterday, I did this, and you're trying to screw something through 1/4 inch non-plywood pine, and you use a drill, even if you pre-drill and countersink, probably, and I did, split the wood. So in that instance, if it's fragile, you got to use the hand drill. If you're going to strip stuff, don't do power drill, don't do power tools. But like to make cuts and all that, power tools all the way. If you can use it, it's like I heard somebody, I think it was Bill Maher, said the only reason that people don't fly private is because they can't. And that's true. If you can fly private, you fly private. I've never flown private, but my son has. Philosophy and power tools. Can you talk about when do you take out time to read? I basically read in bed, a little bit in bed. On my train trip with my son, I read a bit. I'm being really bad about reading because I'm listening to so many podcasts and I'm being really lazy when I'm not working, just like watching Netflix and stuff. Super bad. But maybe in the winter when it's more rainy and there's more like calm time, or if I take a big trip somewhere where I don't have to drive, I'll read. But I'm like in a debt of reading. Post-work wind down routine. I go find the kids, play with the kids, make food, eat it, watch Netflix or watch a movie or something, and then go to bed, maybe read in bed for a few minutes and then go to sleep. That's it. Or go meet friends at a restaurant. Hi, Ben. Can you talk about your van belt? It was left out of your uniform discussion. That's true. So this van belt, my name's Van, so it's very hard to find things with your name on it if your name is Van. So I had a girlfriend get me. She found it. She was from England, and she found it at I think she said it was like the Turkish flea markets or something, or the Arab market or something like this in London. And she found it in one of the booths, so she just bought it. And then my mother bought me one. She found one too. And so I had 2 of them. And then I met this guy, an AA, and his sponsor's name was Van. He was like, oh, my sponsor's name. I was like, I have an extra one. You can have it. And I gave it to him. But I've had to repair it because the brass loop on it has broken. I had to make a new one out of coat hanger. But that's it. I wear it. It's kind of goofy, but it's like a little act of humility. It's like a little panic button if you forget, if you forget my name. I kind of pointed out when I meet people, I was like, it's on my belt buckle. If you forget, it's one less name you have to remember. So that's why I wear it, just because you meet so many, when you live in these big cities, you just meet so many people. And I find it extremely hard to remember people's names. So that's the deal with that. And then the belt was a gift. And I hand painted the black and the roses and the rose petals. I hand painted those. It took me like a crazy amount of time with like a tiny paintbrush and the magnifying glasses. I did that in the Bronx, in my Bronx studio with acrylic paint, and it's held up. What similarities and differences do you have with Isabel? From Misha. Oh, she's a naturally gifted everything. And I'm bad at everything. She's more patient. She's more tolerant. She has better taste. She'll eat more different things than I will. But our tastes are similar and our standards are similar. Like we're kind of like Oscar Wilde. We're not picky. We're always satisfied with the very best. But she has incredible taste because I don't know her. She comes from a family with very good taste. So she just knows all this stuff. Like, like patterns, like the beautiful patterns for clothes or wallpaper or whatever. And then she's a trained designer, so she just knows all these principles and everything. And she has a good eye, so she knows, like, she designed all the house stuff, all the house, and it's so cool up there. It's so nice, and all the colors are perfect, and the piping on the chair cushions matches the couch, and she had that done custom, and it's just this tiny little thing you'd never notice, but you feel it. So we have that in common, that aesthetic sensitivity. Those are the fundamentals that are similarities and differences. Okay, everyone, have a great. I haven't eaten yet. I'm cutting and running. Sorry, so many great questions this year. I mean, this week I wish I could have torn through more of them, but that's it. And thanks for your support. Thank you for joining. And hopefully the next one of these will be from the new studio, the new echoey studio, but I'll try to figure out that problem.